We like Cal Berkeley. I get it. Don't be looking at me.
I went to Cal, but I want you to know Joe DiMaggio was at my high school graduation.
Joe DiMaggio was at your high school graduation.
I went to high school with his granddaughter for 4 years.
Wow.
Brother went and got his autograph.
Oh, wow.
Wow. There you go. There's a random fact there.
I mean, that's incredible. You brought more to the show today than Sam.
Has in the last year. No, I'm kidding. I couldn't help it. It was low-hanging fruit. Stafford University, Shasky, was going to build a university in Martinez.
Really?
But they didn't think there was enough land. And with that, Shell Oil started with that land. The Shell Oil refinery started with that land. But Stafford was going to be in Martinez. Can you imagine that? Stafford University, 10 minutes away from Cal Berkeley?
Yeah, that would have been different.
It would have been a little weird.
Yeah,
it would have been a little weird. Yeah. So those some fun facts. Animals, creek beavers.
Oh.
They made a home here a decade ago when nothing else was going on.
Yeah.
Mysterious, mythological.
As we talk love advice with Bonta, Creek Beavers.
Creek Beavers, and then they got a.k.a. the Creek Monkey. So those are just some fun facts with Martinez. There you go. The more you know.
The more I know.
Stafford University. Bye-bye, Mama.
Bye.
See you later. Great to feel your presence here as we're in Martinez here at Copper Skillet Courtyard in Martinez. All right, we got Draymond Green, 888-957-9570. Roasters, Warrior fans, now's your time to call in. What do you make of Draymond Green? Saying some of the things he said yesterday on the Big Pot with Shaquille O'Neal. Starting with Spinoni, go ahead and get it ready. I want to play Draymond Green, the cut where he says, hey, I'm fine with losing for the last 5 years.
If you have the opportunity to ring chase into your career, they need you, your play, your leadership, would you do that?
If there is something that I could offer to a team and I'm like, oh, I'm the missing piece there, I can go help that team get over the hump. That's different than like, man, let me go see if I could just fall into one more. No, I want to be able to contribute. But the Warriors will have to not want me anymore. If I had to stay and go to state another 5 years and we not make the playoffs for 5 years straight, I'm totally fine with that. Not because I'm not a competitor, but because I'd rather do it. I'd rather struggle with the same guys that I succeeded with. It ain't about, we struggling now, I need to go that way. Nah, the same way we succeeded together, I'd rather struggle together. As opposed to, oh, I can go over here and do this. As long as they'll have me, I got no reason to ever want to leave that place.
What do you make of that, Joseph Shasky, the third? What do you make of that? Because I understand what he's trying to say. He said, I want to stick
What is he trying to say?
He's trying to stick through thick and thin with this organization that's done so well by him.
Yeah, but you can't say that I'm going to stick here through thick and thin, and then every game Curry doesn't suit up, you're actively trying to get kicked out of. Yeah. Like those, let's just call it what it is. Yeah. We're afraid to tap dance around the reality that when Steph doesn't suit up, that Draymond is dying to get thrown out of a game. And him saying, I want to be here through thick and thin. But when push has come to shove, you quit on a season when he wasn't there. And time again, your ejections coincide with either the team losing and you're not front running, or one of the hot players, best players in the team, being out. His words just don't jive with his actions.
Well, what I want to focus on is the last 5 years. Let's say the last 5 years. Are Warrior fans fine with losing the last 5 years? Are we fine? Is Joe Lacob fine with possibly losing the next 5 years if things are like? I get the Western Conference is loaded. We're watching the Western Conference Finals right now with Minnesota and Dallas, and you see all these teams, up and coming teams. But yeah, sure, you could be competitive. But first of all, Draymond signed for the next 3 years, not the 5 years. So a contract extension would have to happen there. But the next 5 years, and I understand what Draymond's trying to say, I just don't agree with it. And I don't think anybody would be fine saying, we gave it the old rally cry.
I totally agree.
And we tried hard, and we're losing for the next 5 years. That's how people lose jobs. That's how people get fired. That's how people lose money. That's how season tickets start to dwindle. That's how fans start saying, you know what, maybe I'm going to pass on this Warriors game.
In the regular season, they've won slightly more than they've lost. Have people been happy?
No.
Players?
No.
Coaches?
No.
Front office?
No.
And then the fans?
No.
So you're telling me lose more than what you're currently doing, and we're going to be happier and satisfied? No. You're right. I don't see how any of that happens.
I don't agree with that. So 888-957-9570, Warrior fans, and you could just be basketball fans. What do you make of those statements? How did you compute those statements? 888-957-9570. 9570 is the number. Draymond Green and what he just said there. Also, the whole coaching aspect. Coach Dre, well, let's hear the cut where Draymond talks about Joe Lacob coming to him saying, hey, I think you may be a good coach one day.
With the conversation that I've had with Joe Lacob over the years and him saying to me, like, yo, when you're done, I can see you one day coaching this team when Steve's done. Like, I can see you working with this team. Like, I would love to see that. That means the world to me because that means the man that owned the organization that I play for is watching me play basketball and saying, this guy can one day coach my team.
So I actually think he would make a great coach. Now, would he have to change things up? Would he have to mature in terms of how he communicates with players, other people in the organization? Yes, a lot of things would have to change for Draymond Green. But once you take the uniform off and you evolve into the coaching hat, I actually think if we're talking X's and O's, if we're talking lineups, if we're talking feel for the game, if we're talking in-game strategy changes, if we're talking inbound possessions, communicating, he does have a lot of strengths that could work as a coach. Now, does he have some things that would work against him? Absolutely. Like, he's hot-headed. It's just who he is. I do believe he could actually be a great coach, but he would have to adjust some of the ways he goes about things, and I will grant him enough grace that I think once he takes the uniform off, you will see a different version of Draymond if he chooses to coach. I think he'd be a great coach.
That'd be interesting. What do your fans make of all this?
Do you think he'd be a great coach?
He has the ability to do whatever, to be great at whatever he wants to do. Like, he's turned his podcast into a great podcast. He wins awards for his podcast all the time. You may not like it. People may not like it. But a lot of people listen. A lot of people listen. Like his podcast has won awards. It has set the template. Dre has been great at everything he's done. He's won everywhere he's been. Michigan State, they went to Final Fours. They won Big Tens. You know what I'm saying? He's been an All-American. He's been in DPOY. There's no doubt that if he wanted to coach, he could be a very good coach because when he's on that TNT set, inside the NBA, I know a lot of people are throwing their arms up in the air. It's like, damn, why is Draymond out here? But when he breaks down the segments, and like yesterday in the pregame, he was talking about Anthony Edwards and how Aaron Gordon was defending Anthony Edwards and how to make life difficult for him because you need heels on the three-point line. You have to guard him from the three-point line out. And I was like, wow, okay. And then he talked about Kyrie and the same thing, basically. He can teach the game at a very high level. He can do that. There's no doubt about it. So could he be a good coach? Absolutely. But how does his playing career end with the Golden State Warriors?
Well, that I agree
and then how's that transition now? Mike Dunleavy's a GM right now. But he's been away from the team for a long, long time. So a lot of those memories of Mike Dunleavy when he played, we've kind of swept that under the rug because of the championships. And there's been a lot of time since he wore that Warriors uniform.
I agree.
And then you talk about the draft picks you just made, where you get a first-team all-rookie and a guy who barely missed the second team. So far, Dunleavy's cool. But if you did it right away, say Draymond retired, and he's coaching right away like Jason Kidd did, I don't know what that would look like. I don't know.
Well, I would say this. There is a credibility factor in the NBA, maybe more so than any other sport, where if you didn't play in the NBA, you better be outstanding, and you better have people supporting you up top. And I do believe once he's like, if as a coach he stepped into that situation, he would command respect.
Yep.
There would be credibility, right? Like just right off the rip.
Absolutely.
And I think when I think of a lot of these situations that don't work, players just tuning out coaches because they don't think they're credible happens a lot.
Well, when you get a player with rings, you get a player who defended at a high level, you do get credibility. This is why Jason Kidd has the credibility with the Dallas Mavericks. Look at Kyrie Irving and how much he respects Jason Kidd. He's matured so much as a leader for that team. It is. I'm so blown away with Kyrie Irving right now. Carl Anthony Edwards, other Chris Finch. Guys respect. Certain guys just commanded respect in the locker room. And I do think Draymond Green would command that respect. But are we misunderstanding his words?
Well,
are we misunderstanding what he's trying to say? 888-957-9570.
I know you want to go out to the lines. Could you interpret him saying, I'll stay here through thick and thin, as a dig at guys like LeBron and KD who have bounced around?
No, I didn't look that too deep. I didn't look too deeply into that. It could be, but it's funny. By the way, Kevin Durant, they were showing the meme of Draymond and the KD. When he's talking to KD, and he goes, Boy, he was doing a lot of winning in. We was gaming him up. Draymond slipped that in on this side of the end. Yeah, I was like, man, he just can't help himself. But I do understand about being part of something, building it, and rolling with it until the wheels fall off. I do understand that. You want to see it through.
But your actions have to. If that's how your setting's going to be, then you can't get chucked out of games when Steph is inactive.
But we all understand that. I think he understands that because it's cost the team a playoff spot. But think about it. We built overtime, the pre and post game show here at 95.7 The Game. We're the first to do it. To this day, whoever hosted, whether it's Sterling Bennett, whether it's Mark Grandy, whether it's Evan Giddings, I listen because I want to make sure that baby is not wrecked. I want to make sure that we left it in a great place and it's continuing to roll along and get the ratings that we did on that show. So I understand Draymond Green said, hey, Steph, Clay, and I, we helped build this thing. I want to see it through. So when I do leave, we're still in a great place being a championship contender. Maybe we're just misunderstanding his words. 888-957-9570. Let's go out to the lines. Let's go to John in Benicia. John, what's happening, man? You're on the roast. What up, John?
What's up, John?
Hey, you know what? I really wish I could be down there with you guys, but I actually have to do some work today. But I think we're not hearing Draymond correctly. I mean, I think what he's saying is that I don't want to go somewhere just for the money and struggle somewhere else. If I'm going to potentially struggle anywhere, I want it to be with my guys. He's not saying that they're going to struggle for 5 years. He's just saying that he's going to be in a position. He wants it to be where he is now. And as far as him being a coach, I think what he needs to do after he leaves the floor is go into the studio for a couple of years, because who's the hottest name in the coaching ranks right now? It's J.J. Redick.
Yep.
Follow his lead, or I think he would be great as an assistant coach and then take on the lead.
Interesting. That's an interesting point. And maybe he just wants to do the TV thing. Maybe Draymond will say, you know what, I don't want to travel city to city, day to day, construct practices, diagram plays. It's an honor. It's flattering. I think I can do it for sure. He played for Tom Izzo. Tom Izzo believes he can do it. No doubt about that. But maybe he wants to do the studio life. Maybe he wants to just break the game down and try to educate people with that. But maybe we are misunderstanding what he's saying here. 888-957-9570. Now, was that Spinoni?
Oh, sorry. I was talking in your ear there. I know it's hard to line them out. But Tom Izzo joined, I believe, Willard and Dibbs yesterday and talked about it, Draymond potentially being a head coach. You guys want to hear about it?
I do want to hear it.
Here you go.
You might not believe this, but there was a couple times that we're playing in the NCAA tournament, and Draymond would be calling my guy, Austin Thornton, who he played with in college, telling him what to tell me to do on a pick and roll or ball screens and all that during the game. I mean, Draymond is a passionate human being. In every way, shape, or form, I think he'd be a phenomenal coach. He's got an incredible basketball IQ, incredible. He's passionate. He is demanding. I think in every way, he'd be good. He'd make adjustments. He'd do all those things. Where I think he'd have the problem is the same place Magic Johnson had a problem when he went with the Lakers is I think it would be hard for him to watch other guys not do the things that he would do, and maybe he couldn't get that through. Now, maybe he would get that through, but it's just not as easy as you think when you coach.
You know, Larry Bird had that same problem. He was talking about when he coached, he couldn't understand why the marginal players wouldn't try as hard, or even his star players try as hard as he did, and do certain things that he did. And he said it was very, very difficult for me to understand everyone. And there's a level, and I say this all the time, there's a level of acceptance you have to have as a coach that you can't micromanage every little tiny thing. And sometimes you have to allow for failures. I know that sounds crazy.
Know what, though, Draymond,
that sounds crazy.
But you know what, Draymond, he wasn't drafted as a superstar. You know what I'm saying? It's a little different when I think about Draymond Green. He was a second-round pick. 35 players are drafted ahead of him.
Well, let's look at his own teammates. Does he relate to Kuminga?
I think he does.
Does he?
I think he does. I think he started to. Absolutely. Moody loves Draymond.
James Wiseman?
Moody loves Draymond. I've heard stories about Draymond letting Moody use his house in Cabo and all that stuff. Moody loves Draymond Green. Somebody's player pod speaks highly of Draymond Green. So Draymond, although he talks like one of the 5 best players in the league, he was initially a role player, a glue guy, a guy who had to find his way in the NBA, not by scoring, but by scrapping, by defending, by rebounding, by being an undersized big who had to guard centers and guard fives and kind of overachieve. Like, as much as Draymond Green has driven us crazy over the last 2 years.
He's clearly overachieved.
He is overachieved over the course of his career. So I see like a Steve Kerr type where Steve Kerr was a role player. Sure, he was a star in Arizona, but when he got to the league, he was a backup.
Yeah, but there are plenty of role players that make crap coaches.
There's plenty of star players that make crap coaches.
Well, no, there's very few star players
that make bad executives.
Yeah.
But I think Draymond Green, the way he talks the game and the way he sees the game, I think he can coach in today's NBA. There's no doubt.
I think what I'm getting at is like when I watch Jason Kidd, for example, there is a level of I have to trust the guys on the floor.
No doubt.
To kind of freelance enough. I can't micromanage. And there's one area of Draymond's where, like Kyle Shanahan, he's a micromanager.
He is.
And I do believe he's a perfectionist. And so that's a good quality. These are not bad qualities.
I don't see him coaching, first of all. I don't think he's going to coach, but I think he will be able to rein it in. And it's all about
evolve.
And it's about the assistants you empower too. Your coaching staff is huge at that point. What Steve Kerr did is we talked about the 10-year anniversary of Steve Kerr. What did he do right away? He built a staff around him to help him in some of his shortcomings. Okay, maybe I don't understand all the defensive principles. Well, let me go hire Ron Adam, who's been part of this league for over 20 years. Offensively, I want to be innovative. Well, let me go get my boy Alvin Gentry, who I worked with in Phoenix. He understands offensive basketball. And then let me go get a young up-and-comer like Luke Walton, who's still an assistant. I wonder if he's going to be retained by Cleveland. He was part of that staff with J.B. Bickerstaff, who just got fired today in Cleveland, Ohio. Kenny Atkinson is on the short list for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So it's about your staff, too, who you build around you to help you with some of those things in terms of micromanaging or trusting players or allowing a player to freelance.
What about the relationship with the owner? How many owners will work with the Draymond?
Well, it sounds like Joe Lacob would. Sounds like Joe Lacob would.
But they have a long standing working relationship.
They have a long history, and that word gets around. I think so. I think Draymond understands the corporate world. He understands ownership. Hell, he was talking about Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA. He was talking to him during the suspension. So I think Dre. If Dre decided to coach, like, did you think Ty Lue would ever be a coach and a good coach?
It's time for you to do the legal.
A lot of guys shock me who are coaches and are good and bad coaches.
We just never know. You know why? Because it's about the players you have on the court. So if Draymond has a bunch of marginal players, well, guess what? He's going to lose. Because you can't win in this league without superstars.
Well, I think the one defining trait of a lot of great coaches is they're very methodical in how they operate, and they will allow something to happen for a greater goal down the line. I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot. There's a lot that goes into it.
Well, there is a lot that goes into it, but we at the end of the day, you need players. Jason Kidd has been fired. Jason Kidd got fired from Brooklyn, right? Got fired from Brooklyn. Team failed. Got fired. Goes to L.A. He's an assistant. Takes the Dallas Mavericks job. They're not winning, but guess what? They go get another superstar player with Kyrie Irving. So you need the players. If Draymond doesn't have the players, nobody's going to be a good.
That's obvious.
Ty Lue can't get out the first round because Kawhi Leonard can't stay on the floor. So first of all, if you're going to coach in this league, you better have some stars.
Well, that's like baseline. I agree with you there. That's baseline. But I do believe there are guys, Spoelstra, Thibodeau have kind of proven it. They can elevate players. Very few coaches can, and I feel like those two have that equity.
888-957-9570. Talking a little Draymond Green here as we're live at the Copper Skillet Courtyard in Martinez. Come on by. We got about an hour left for the program, 9:06, as you're listening to 95.7 The Game. I don't hear much because everybody's eating. Everybody's crushing the food right now. It is on fire.
Except Matt Nahigian.
Yeah, Matt Nahigian's still on that soda diet. I'm not mad at him. He looks good right now. You know who looked good? His son Huddy hitting that ball the other day.
I see.
Wow.
He runs like his dad.
He didn't dive like Luis Matos last night, but he didn't walk into second base.
Huddy was crushing the ball.
Very, very impressive.
Crushing the
ball.
ball.
Now we got to get Boston to crush the ball like that, too.
He's hitting better than Jorge Soler right now.
He is hitting. Well, so here's Jorge Soler, 3 RBIs yesterday.